Let's now go to Washington. That's where we'll find SABC News correspondent Nick Harper joining us live from Washington, D.C. Nick, a very good afternoon to you. So the planned withdrawal of the United States from these 66 UN and international organizations is not an isolated decision, as we've been hearing. How do these, fit into the broader America First worldview outlined in the Trump administration security strategy?
Yeah, not really a surprise, this one. As we heard from Showin's reporting there, one commentator saying it's really the US's way or the highway. Donald Trump wants things done his way. And if countries are not willing to fall in line with that, he is making it clear he is willing not to be a part of whatever they are selling. And therefore, we're seeing the US withdrawing even further, retreating even further from this multinationalism. It's all about isolationism. This America First policy is really about doing things America's way. So the US carried out these reviews of various different global bodies, institutions, organizations, and it has pinpointed 66 more that it is now withdrawing from. I think some very interested but also pointed language coming out from the US government. Marco Rubio, the US Secretary of State, putting out a statement on this, saying that these institutions that have been targeted were redundant in their scope, they were mismanaged, they were unnecessary, wasteful, and poorly run. And he said that the US can no longer be acceptable in sending these institutions the blood, sweat and treasure of the American people with little to no show for it. I mean, this is not just about a financial implication. This is really about how they feel these institutions and bodies have positioned themselves. The Trump administration has pushed back against left-leaning, or as they describe it, woke policies, not just here in the United States, but internationally as well. And I think this is why we're seeing the US saying these government bodies, these international organizations, these institutions are not for the United States, not just about money, but also about their direction and their leaning. And really the US cutting itself off from that multinational, multilateral landscape as it has done over the last 11 months since Donald Trump returned to power.
And Nick, how unusual is it, historically, for the US to withdraw from so many institutions at once? And while you're there, perhaps also give us a sense of how the world has reacted to this.
Yeah, it's interesting because we saw this in Donald Trump's first term as well. He withdrew from a whole range of things like the World Health Organization, the Paris Climate Accord. The next president, President Joe Biden, came in and put the US back into them. Donald Trump came back and then withdrew the US once again. But there has been more during the course of the 11 months. For example, withdrawing from UNRWA, which is the UN organization that helps Palestinian refugees, the World Health Organization as well. And really, the US, I think, is positioning itself away from those things, those global institutions, and really just forging its own path. But at the same time, pushing ahead with expansionism. For example, the action that we've seen in Venezuela, the designs on Greenland, on Canada, about wanting to make that its 51st state. So the US wants to withdraw from those multinational institutions, but do things its own way and push in its own expansionist direction. I mean, here in the United States, the reaction has been largely along political lines. If you're a Republican, if you support Donald Trump and his administration, you're cheering the fact that the US is no longer funding these organizations. If you're a Democrat, left-leaning, then you're looking at all this and thinking, well, look, where does this position the US? What message does it send? Especially withdrawing from climate change organizations and initiatives. Donald Trump having called climate change in the past a hoax, but that worries the US and critics of Donald Trump because they say it's not only not funding these organizations, not funding the ability to help climate change, but it also isn't helping the United States, which often uses that funding as a soft power tool to influence some of those global bodies or influence where that money is sent. Without that, Democrats and left-leaning organizations are saying that really this weakens the United States' position on the world stage.
Thank you so much for that. Nick Harper joining us live there from Washington.